All right, guys. So we're on another channel, another day with Marked, and today's special day. We actually have Daniel Rocha, who's a local here in Vegas. He's the owner over at Seven Tattoo, which will also tag. Daniel, I'd like to thank you. Thanks for being here with us, taking the time out of your day. Um, just to kind of get it started, I guess like what we'll do is like, how do you end up being a tattoo artist? Like, how'd you that's, like, I feel like the best question to start off
Oh
with you
man.
guys, like, how'd you become a tattoo artist? Were you
Yeah.
just drawing, like
Oh yeah, no, that's a long story, but thank you for having me. Um yeah, with tattooing, how I became an artist, I feel like I was always an artist,
Mhm.
growing up. I remember my dad used to take me to art classes at what was it, Varenzi Park back in the day. This was I think before kindergarten.
Mhm.
And I remember him putting me in these classes, learning how to draw realism and stuff because I guess when I was a kid, I remember watching cartoons and sitting there trying to draw the cartoons that I was watching and stuff. So,
Oh, shit.
um, like it's always been in me. Throughout school, I was always drawing. I did pretty good in school until I got to maybe around middle school, and then that's when things started kind of going down a little bit. But I was more in the back of the class drawing than doing my actual
S
assignments.
so you always kinda had that, like, creative
Yeah.
slash drawing, and
Mhm.
did your dad, like, kinda feed in on that and
Yeah, he
kinda
did. He did
so he
definitely.
kinda, like, saw it, foresaw it and was like, "Okay, okay, he's an artist." So he kinda, like, brought you to the stuff, or
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. It wasn't something that I knew was gonna turn into a lifelong thing,
Right.
But as I got older, I kind of got into the car scene, like lowrider models, bikes and the cars. And I learned how to pinstripe, I learned how to engrave metal, I learned how to paint a little bit, and I always thought something was I was gonna be involved in cars,
Right.
but it didn't really go that route. Um I had my cousin in my ear talking about, you should tattoo. I had some friends in my ear, and I just kind of like was like, whatever,
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I was more focused on cars and stuff, and just that whole lowrider scene and like just the creativeness of it, with like all the chrome and all the pinstriping and all the candy paint and stuff.
Mhm.
It was pretty fascinating to me. So um, I don't know, just one day I wanted to get a tattoo, and,
Right.
so I just went online and bought a kit from, it was Superior back in the day, and, yeah, I got that kit, went back home, started tattooing myself, tattooed my neighbor. My neighbor kinda just randomly came up to me. We had just moved into these townhomes, and he was like, "Hey, you tattoo?" And I'm like, it was kinda weird because, I wasn't tattooing at the time, but I had just ordered the kit, and I'm like, "Dude, how did this guy know?" You know?
He's destined.
Yeah, so the next thing you know, the moment I got that kit, I was tattooing him, like, every single day, tattoo myself, tattoo my wife, messed up my wife.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, it was pretty interesting in the beginning, and, the moment I had that machine in my hand, it consumed me, and
That's
I never went back.
Like an addiction?
Yeah, it was like an addiction, it was like borderline obsession,
Yeah.
like almost unhealthy, I guess, how much it consumed me because like it was like there was like no sleep. It was just all tattooing. And then I was also a plumber at the time. So
oh, sure.
yeah, I was working crazy, crazy hours doing that. I was a plumber for shit, I forget exactly how long, but it was for quite some time. But I started going through, like we started going through a slow season during the '08 recession, with
Right.
the plumbing career. And yeah, it started getting slow. So I was sitting there tattooing 8, 10 hours on top of working my plumbing job.
Right.
And I eventually got fired from the plumbing job because I made a comment that the owner of the company didn't like, and it put me down this path of tattooing. So it became a blessing. I was under contract with the
Right.
plumbing, so it was. something I was already kind of like feeling a little type of way,
Right.
because I couldn't leave the company. So when they fired me, I was like, oh man, this is a blessing. They broke the contract.
Right, right, right,
And
right,
I
right.
had to put 100% in the tattoo. And then,
So you like deep dove into it.
yes. So
Yeah.
instead of it being, when I had free time, it was all the time after that.
Yeah.
So you were happy about that?
I was happy. It was scary. It was scary because I went from making, over 2 grand a week take home to only a few hundred
Right.
in the week.
Survival mode.
Yeah, it was scary, but at the time, like, I didn't really care about the money, you know? Like, the fact that I want to tattoo all the time, it was so powerful that the loss of money didn't matter to me. And then shortly after that, I met a couple artists in the industry. Specifically, I remember talking with Roman Abrego, and back then we were just discussing just different things, and he had talked about how he built a pool in his house, and then I find out that he's tattooing like every day of the week,
Right.
and every project he's doing is like a full day session. I'm like, holy crap, like there's a lot of potential in this.
Right, right, right.
But by then I was already hooked, you know what I mean, before I had the
You
conversation.
were
So
keeping it.
yeah, so it's like I knew the money would come at one point. It's just in the beginning it wasn't about the money. And it still isn't about the money.
It's about the artistry.
Yeah, it's about the experience,
Definitely
the fun.
evolved though,
Yeah.
which we'll get into. Yeah,
Oh
for
no,
sure.
for sure.
Well, that's how I know you're a true artist. One, you said it consumed you.
Mhm.
All artists deal with that. Consumes them for the good and for the bad. And then two, you said it wasn't about the money. So an artist really loves their work and loves what they do. So that's how I know you're a true artist, and that's amazing. Um,
Well, I gotta speak on that. I can tell you right now, like anybody who's listening, me and Daniel have a lot of projects. And I will tell you right now, Daniel is a perfectionist to the T. And like everything that we do together, this guy, I've never met an artist that's like Daniel in this sense, bro. And I don't know if I ever told you this, but this is truly how I feel. Nobody
it's not-
cares more about what they're doing that I've come across against all these artists, nothing against anybody else, than this person right here. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, dude, like I've never met somebody that when you take a break, constantly he'll be like, let me see it. Let me see it. Let me see it. And it's not just like they're trying to see it to be like gassing himself up. He's seeing because I know in his head, he's like, okay, I'm gonna pull this line here and the shadow depth is here and maybe that didn't come in so high. Like he's analytically looking at your piece nonstop. Like it really does. When he says it consumes him, I'm telling you, my hands, we got a big project we're doing right now. Like nonstop while you're with this man, he's like diving into that. So like I do know, and I can definitely speak on that. Like there's nobody else that I've come across against all these high-end artists. It really does consume yours, but like it shows, you know what I mean? Like it
yeah,
reflects in the artistry.
like
Cause then like when I walk around, obviously I'll get comments on that. I didn't mean to cut you off, but it was just
no, yeah, no, that's a good point.
that was
That's a
a
really good
huge
point.
thing that I definitely noticed with Rocha.
So you said you're born and raised in Vegas?
Yeah.
Not many of us.
No.
Oh, yeah, I know like now you and like two people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, definitely not too many of us. Like there's a handful of us here and there, you meet them here and there
Yeah.
throughout the years and stuff, but everybody's from somewhere else.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Vegas is that melting pot.
What side of town?
I lived on every side of town. I grew up on the east side though. Over there off of like Lamb and Cary,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
whole area. But as I was, getting close to 18, I started moving out, and I lived I lived everywhere. Over there off of like MLK and
Mhm.
I forget that other cross street. I lived on a few spots on MLK actually, to be honest with you. I lived over here, close by here, off of like Ford.
Yeah.
I lived up over off of Decatur and Washington. I lived further on the east side of by Sunrise Mountain. I definitely bounced around a lot, in my youth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of clients say the vibe of the shop can define the total experience. What did you want the guests to walk in and feel like when they walked into Seven?
Well, I mean, that right there, I on top of living in a bunch of different places here in Vegas, I also bounced around a lot of shops in the beginning before I owned my own studio. And it was very difficult for me to find a studio that actually kind of represented what I was about,
Yeah.
basically. A lot of shops are kind of like a one size fits all. You have traditional mixed with realism and all this, everything in design
Right.
and stuff. But there was always something that was not,
Missing for you.
yeah, it was missing. Whether the shop owner would get drunk and not show up and open up the shop, or something was very unsanitized and they're keeping sterile equipment in the restroom, or just something of that nature, something
Yeah.
that just wasn't right. It
So
just
It
didn't seem
wasn't up to
right.
your par, like your
Yeah,
level of what you expect
yeah.
for
So
yourself. So yeah,
I,
kind of
I
makes sense.
yeah, I felt like I had to create a space that actually, felt right. That wasn't what was out here at the time. I mean, like, times have changed, standards have risen. So, but to me at the time, it was important that I created an experience for our clients, that was more professional than what our
Right.
industry had to offer. So,
Right.
like, that's super important to me.
Yeah.
I need a client that comes in to the studio to feel like they made the right choice. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of times people question their choices when they walk into the studio. They really want to get tattooed, but they're not sure if they're making the right
When they
choice.
walk in, like, oh shit,
Yeah.
I don't know about this
Like,
anymore.
should I go through with it,
Yeah.
or
especially when you're getting tattooed by like the owner of the shop, because it's a direct reflection, right? Because you're the
Yeah.
owner of the shop. So if
Mhm.
I book with you and I walk in and like there's like mildew coming off the wall, and I'm just, fuck, dude, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is your shop, you know?
Yeah.
So I could see that. Was there like a tipping point though? When you were like, enough's enough. Like, I'm gonna do this shit on my own.
Yeah, I
Do you
worked at a
remember
shop.
it?
Yeah, I worked at a shop. I don't want to say the name of the
You don't
shop,
have to. You don't have to.
but I did work at a shop that when I was already traveling to conventions all over the country at the time, and talking to potential clients, and they're showing interest in booking and booking flights and hotel stays to come to Vegas to get tattooed. But the moment I dropped the name of that studio, they were like, "What?" 'Cause I used to just drop the initials of the studio, and they're like, "What's the shop?"
Right.
And they'd ask me a couple times. I'm like, "Alright." So I actually tell them what the shop was,
Right.
the name of the shop, and they're like, "Oh, okay." And
And they
then
have like a
they
bad
no,
reputation.
it's not that they had a bad reputation, it's just first impression,
Okay.
when you hear the name of the shop.
Okay. Okay.
Some people
I
think.
I think I get where
Yeah.
you're going with this. So I understand. I understand. Okay.
Yeah, some people think, like, these names are super cool, but they're only cool to yourself,
Right.
with some of these business upsells and stuff.
Okay,
So
I think people are like blinded, like artists are blinded, like where they're at
I
and
think
what
people
they're
get
doing, kind of thing, from
oh,
reality of like what other people see.
a little bit, yeah. Definitely.
egos.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm
like,
just trying, yeah, saying that a different way.
yeah, like inside things, inside
Yeah.
jokes and stuff. Yeah, just because somebody used to call you this back in the day and you thought it was the coolest thing ever, doesn't mean it's cool to everybody else,
Yeah.
right? So, and little things like that people overlook, and that could actually hurt business.
Right.
So,
So then that's kind of like a perfect segue. Like, what separates a good experience for a client versus like a great one to you? For a
to
bad one.
me, yeah. So that's an interesting question because, like, what's a good experience to some is not great to others. Like, we all have baseline expectations, that we hope to go into a studio that's clean. We hope to
Right.
get an artist that actually gives a shit, and
Right.
we hope we walk out with what we're asking for.
Right.
And so, I mean, those are baseline expectations, but on top of that, we want to give an experience that's beyond that. We want
Right.
them to want to come back and to start their next piece, and to continue moving up and telling their story and stuff, through art. But a lot of times, people, like, studios will treat clients like transactions, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like they'll do that piece and they don't expect to ever see them again. So
Kind of like Flash. Like when you
yeah,
get like Flash
in
tattoos,
a
they're like,
way,
no, no.
yeah, in a way, not always, but yeah, in a way. So like with us, we want to give an experiences beyond that. We want to, of course, give them what they're asking for, and we want to give them a good experience, and we want to be professional, and we want them to be happy, but we also want to take care of them on top of that too, because we actually care how our pieces heal out. We want to know how they look a year from now.
Right.
We want to see it, and we want to be able to give them something that's going to last forever. That's also going to be like I don't know how you say, like, jaw dropping to some stranger that might run across it, and not realize that the piece is already a couple years old,
Mm-hmm. For
so
sure.
like we're always striving for something a little bit more than the average artist, actually a lot more than the average
Yeah.
artist, to be honest with
I'll
you.
say you guys are definitely going for way more than like what the average shop would go for.
Yeah, so of course we got to meet those baseline expectations, but to exceed those expectations, that's always the mission.
Yeah, that makes sense.
When people look at your work, there's a consistent tone. It's polished, modern, clean. Is that how would you describe your work, or how would you describe your work to people watching who are just learning about you or want to learn more about you?
Yeah, I would describe my work as detail oriented, consistent, and of course, I'm always looking for that polished finish, with the tattoo. Um, and like sometimes, I overthink things, and I'm always planning for that future because I want that tattoo to come back to look amazing, and a lot of times I have an opportunity, since I'm working on bigger pieces, sleeves and back pieces and front panels and all of that, to be able to have that second pass to make these slight adjustments,
Yeah.
and instead of just kind of overlooking it and be like, oh, I already finished it, I want to go back and hit those spots and increase, the contrast as much as
Well,
possible. And so like I feel like I have a different opportunity since I do multiple sessions on clients.
Mhm.
So yeah, I guess I would say that it's polished, it's, sound, and it's not necessarily trendy, because I'm not
Right.
really going for trendy stuff. I'm trying to go for things that are going to last the test of time.
I love that.
Would you say with that, so like, okay, so like from like an artist point of view,
Mhm.
right? So obviously we know you have a lot of like big pieces and you're very technical, you're very sound, like with all your stuff. Like from an artist point of view, like what advice would you give another artist for like trying to like for I guess in a sense what I'm trying to ask is like what would you tell the other artists out there for like getting these large scale pieces, like how to handle it and like how to get more opportunities on these large scale pieces. Cause not a lot of artists always get these big, like you and I, we have like 8 sessions,
Yeah.
right? I know you have homie's whole body done.
Mhm.
There's another guy with a whole front panel. You got a whole back panel. Like, you got big pieces.
Yeah.
What's the trick? Is there a trick with that? Like,
No, I don't really
like,
think there's too much of a trick to that. It's like slow and steady, you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like sometimes people look at the big picture and they want to tackle it all at once,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not the way I go about it. It's all baby steps, like for me to attract clients that want that type of work, I didn't just go from doing small tattoos to big tattoos. I started doing the small tattoos, and then they started getting a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. Over the years, um, people liked the ideas that I was putting together,
Right.
and they were more willing to let me
Go bigger.
experiment and yeah, exactly. Go bigger, be able to put bigger compositions together, and like I said in the beginning, I wasn't doing it for money, so a lot of times like they were asking for this, but I would ask them for the permission to do something a little bit more than what they were asking for. Like I said, we all have our baseline expectations, and I was doing whatever I could to exceed that. So instead of just going with the basic concept that they asked for originally, I got their permission to expand on it,
Right.
and
Okay.
and sometimes you kind of have to show people that you're capable of it first before they start asking you for it.
For sure. Yeah.
So in my situation, it was all baby steps, starting with the small pieces, like doing a Tinkerbell. Somebody was like, I want a Tinkerbell. I'm like, can I do a portrait, like portrait style,
Right.
hyper realistic,
Right. Right.
somebody wanted kanji. Can I make that kanji look like it's stamped into the skin?
Right.
And a lot of times people are like, sure.
So somebody's got to like take the step with you.
Yeah, they got
In
to
a
take the
sense,
step
your
with.
client has
Yeah,
to like take that step.
yeah. And a lot of that has to do, like for them to be willing to take that step with you, they have to see some kind of consistency with your work and stuff.
Trust.
Yeah, they have to be able to trust you. But you can't tell somebody to trust you without you having something to show them.
Right.
So you have to kind of have to do it first before somebody who's willing to trust you. So like a Tinkerbell, make it super hyper realistic. You know, I did that and I was able to use that Tinkerbell to prove to somebody like, hey, let me do a color portrait on you.
Right.
So that Tinkerbell opened the door for me to do a color portrait. And then that color portrait opened the door for me to do more color portraits. And then
Right.
then it evolved into doing, black and gray because in the beginning I was a color artist, I did a lot of color, a lot of clients, that's all they asked me for. I didn't do very much black and gray. I did a guest spot at a studio in Southern California and then became, everybody started wanting black and gray after that. But the door opened because I was always exceeding those baseline expectations and showing the next group of people that I was capable of doing what it was that I was trying to do. So it just went from that small little Tinkerbell to a color portrait to doing large scale work.
Yeah.
It's always pushing the bounds and doing a little bit more than what's expected. So
Yeah, for sure. No, I can understand that because I trusted you with a lot of stuff. Sorry, I'm biased because it is my artist, So like I am biased, but I'm trying not to be.
Yeah.
but at the same time,
trying
Steve, I
not to
probably gave you good reasons to trust me when it came
No,
to
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've been following you since you were over there on Decatur
Mhm.
when Seven was on Decatur because I was getting tattooed by, I forgot his name. Avis.
Yeah.
Yeah, Avis. That was a long time ago. But
Yeah.
from that, would you say like what's your style now? If you were to name your style right now from when it evolves, and then do you think you want to go a different route, like for people to kind of get a step into the future?
Um, my route is large scale black and gray realism. I kind of specialize in, a little bit more on the religious side or a little bit of surrealism here and there, but I just really enjoy doing like anything realism, anything
For
that,
sure.
that can help tell a story and stuff. So I feel like my tattoos are going to evolve more that direction. If I can find better ways to tell stories with tattoos and be able to paint a bigger picture, I think that's the direction that I would like to go the most.
That's kind of where you want to.
Yeah, and that's the direction I've been pushing myself towards. Because sometimes people want tattoos that look cool, and that's great, and all, but sometimes when you're trying to tell a story and you're trying to put this into a picture, and pictures say 1,000 words, so you're trying to create a scene, you're trying to have like a super large imposed image of somebody and then something related to them, at the bottom, more of a bigger picture and stuff.
Right.
So I would like to play around with my compositions like that as much as possible.
Right.
And I feel like I've been blessed because I've had that opportunity and a lot of clients trust,
Yeah, definitely.
on the direction the direction that we tend to go. But I like to have their input on it as well because I don't want to put something on somebody that they just don't really feel,
Yeah.
So anything that I can do that pushes me towards something very creative that tells a bigger story, but also respects the client's, their story on top of that, it's the direction that I want to go.
That's sick. Okay. So now you know. If you hit up Rocha, He wants them big pieces.
I want the big
No more little
pieces.
Give
shit.
him the big pieces.
Big time only.
Black and gray realism. Religious.
But yeah, like you said, it's a process. Like Steph Curry didn't just drain threes out the blue. Like he starts small, big.
Mm.
And a lot of people out there think that they can just pick up the needle and just fucking start tattooing like it's like
Yeah.
like no other day. Like there's a process to all this shit, just like anything. Like I produce music, and one thing I wanted to ask you, it's kind of off topic. I always like to see the reaction of when I like make a new song and I have someone listen to it for the first time. What's like the best reaction that stuck with you after you tattooed someone and they saw, their piece and they were like, what was the best reaction you ever got that you never forget?
That's a
Oh
good one.
man, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
that's
tattooed me. Now I'm curious. Did I have good reaction?
no. Everybody pretty much has a good reaction. Some people have a bigger reaction than others. Sometimes I forget how much it might mean to somebody, because you get so close to your work, you get tunnel vision, and you're so focused on creating this shape that's perfect or this tone that is on point, and you're so focused on that that you forget that there's meaning behind it sometimes, so um it's it surprises me when I do see my clients reactions and it's like off the wall, yeah, like holy shit, like dude, thank you so much, or
Crying.
or they cry because
You better cry.
well, yeah, of course,
Because
it's like Momoy's
yeah,
thesis,
That's
yeah.
touching.
it's like when people are
Under the
heartbroken over losing their
Right.
parent or
Because that's
something.
like portraits. Yeah, you put like
thinking about
portraits of
that.
like
Yeah.
loved ones. That makes sense.
And then when you see them tear up and stuff, and it's like, oh man,
Like hits home.
yeah, it's like holy crap, like I did good with how,
Yeah.
and it's like that's not what I was thinking when I was executing this. Yeah, of course, when you initially talk to them and have your consultation, you know how much it means to them, and so of course you're not gonna cut corners and you're gonna put 100% into it, but when you're actually creating the work, you're so zoned in that you forget that
Yeah.
anything else is existing outside of that, and
Laser
so
focused.
when you're finished and they have this crazy response, you're like, wow, like, oh man, like you feel good, you get this warm feeling inside, and you're like, oh man, like, am I selfish for feeling good about this?
No,
know?
why would you
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that?
Yeah, it just, I don't know. It's like, man, it's like I wanted this tattoo to come out perfect. I wanted to come up. I don't know if I wanted it to come out perfect because I want people to see my work as perfect, or if I wanted it to come out perfect because I wanted the client to feel a certain type of way, So like sometimes that kind of it messes with your head a little bit.
Yeah. That's
So
what
Yeah,
my
I
head
can
just
see
now.
that. Yeah,
I was thinking about that
I
too.
can see that.
Processing it.
Because it's like hard. You're almost like pulling on two different strings that are both like a good ending, but like,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't really know. Kind of going into that, if we're talking about like worked finished pieces, right? So obviously you follow a bunch of artists. So we know that you know of other high-end artists. When you see like a good piece, what to you makes like a next level like piece? Because I know we ask each other this from from the like from the mindset of like the collector, but I want to know from the mindset of somebody like yourself, what to you is considered like good pieces? Is it like conception? Is it design? Is it lighting? Like when you see a piece, you're like, fuck, that shit's dope. Like what to you
Yeah.
separates?
So for me, the first thing that I notice when I'm looking at a piece is like, holy crap, like that's badass. It's gonna be the composition. Composition. It's difficult for a lot of artists, and like Ilya, I can tell her arm is done by Ilya, and his composition is crazy. So like I had an opportunity to work with that guy for a while, and watching him put his pieces together instead of just slapping things on and just calling it good and just going, like there's a lot that goes into that composition, and sometimes like you don't see what's going on in someone's head when they're creating this stuff. So like when I see like this new piece online that is put together extremely well, it's usually the composition that I notice the first, at first. And then after that, then it's subject matter, and then it's, lighting and like the values and stuff, like choices that they made with like if it's a color piece,
Right.
like their color palette, or if it's black
Tones
and
and
gray, yeah, like the amount of contrast that it has, like if it has a good balance with darks and lights, but for me, I feel like it's always composition,
I was always curious. I'm glad like we kind of segued into that because I know we asked each other that, right? Like, why should people follow us from a collector standpoint? But like from a high-end artist standpoint, I'm always curious. Like, I know you see each other's all kinds of work, and you're always like, "Oh wow, that shit's dope." But in my head, I'm like, what makes it dope? Like, I know the image is dope, but like, okay, so like composition
Yeah.
is like number one
For me,
for
'cause
you.
I wonder, like, I look at Ilya's work and I'm like, how did he come up with that idea to choose to create like a three-dimensional orb in the middle of his piece where it's still that pattern that he creates, but then he just creates this three-dimensional section out of it out of nowhere, and it takes on a whole new life,
Sounds like we
so
gotta get Ilya on the channel, man.
Oh, we will.
so like some of that stuff, like I said, I've worked with them for a little bit of time, and I'll watch him lay out these compositions on people and spend like an entire day mapping out something, not even tattooing it, just applying the stencil. It's
Just
six,
sitting,
7 hours of applying the stencil, making sure that it's perfect, like he's another perfectionist,
Mhm.
like I thought I was a perfectionist, but then when I see him do things, it's like, no, it has to be perfect, and his stencils are complicated for sure.
Do you think it's harder for geometric artists because it's geometric versus like a black and gray realism? Like
Yes,
depending
because
on where the location is,
I
you know
feel
what I
like
mean?
if you're suffering from OCD, for sure,
Yeah, because
because
now it's like lines and perfect circles and like
Oh yeah, we
versus like a face, right? You got to make sure it faces the right way. And then obviously like for my hands, like it had to like fit on each one, but like that could make sense. Like his arm right now, it's all
yeah,
like perfect lines that need to line up. So I guess
yeah,
yeah,
I feel like there's less room for error on something like that,
Mhm.
but like with realism, sometimes the composition, might be very interesting and it might work if you do something that breaks the rules,
Right.
because sometimes it's the feel that you need to portray, with the piece,
Yeah.
it's like especially with your fingers, like when we did like Pennywise and we did the ship at the bottom, that's not a traditional composition that anybody would want to pick, but it breaks the rules, but it feels right, so
It felt real right when you're doing it.
so that felt real good.
Definitely
I haven't done
did
that
feel
yet.
right.
That's
Yeah.
next for me.
Tread lightly. But Daniel does have a
yeah.
soft touch for sure.
He's always told me that. He's told me that a lot of
Butter,
times.
butter hands, man.
So I've come
Buttery
home.
smooth. I can tell you right now, all the artists, he's definitely the softest. Him and Mara,
Okay.
Anton.
Never had any butter. No butter softness for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, you and Ilya jamming up on you, and I've heard
the Russian. They fight bears.
Yeah.
they ride bears now. Yeah. I am curious now, right? So you're the owner of Seven Tattoo, right? Which is a tattoo shop here local in Vegas. And then obviously you're also a tattoo artist. How do you balance owning and managing a shop versus clients?
Okay. Yeah, no, that is a balance that I'm always, trying to refine. It's a difficult answer.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. But I think the most important thing that an artist that owns a studio needs to realize is you can't do everything by yourself. Like a lot of people want to do everything themselves, but sometimes you need a team, and being able to pick the right team, that's also challenging.
Right.
With our studio, like we have a team, we have front desk staff, we have a team that helps us with our marketing
Yeah.
and it's you still have to be involved with it as much as possible. You need to be the visionary. You need to not try to live too much in the past, but you need to live in the future. You need to be able to have a plan, a direction that you want to go with the studio. You need to ensure that everyone is following that same path, that they understand what the mission is, what needs to be done. And that's difficult for a lot of people. It's difficult for myself. Communication is a big part of being a business owner on top of being an artist.
Right.
So on top of just being an artist, you want to communicate with your clients. You want to understand what it is that they want. You want to understand their vision. You want to be able to give them what their vision is.
Mhm.
But at the same time, too, you need to do that also with the team that you work with. If you want to have any kind of success, you need to be able to to train. You need to be able to do your own due diligence and go and learn the shit on your own, because no one else is going to teach you that stuff. Like, you need to learn how to market. You need to learn how to um, improve your customer service. You need to learn how to better your communication skills, and you need to understand just basic business. So a lot of us, we want to be artists and we want to create and do nothing else, but
Mhm.
that's the perfect recipe to be a starving artist you know
Right.
um if you don't want to be a starving artist, you have to do more than just that. You have to educate yourself, you have to study, you have to see what else is out there, and not just study our own industry, but study other industries that run parallel that can also give you some inspiration, because um we're a bunch of like toddlers in this industry, when it comes to business and stuff, and
Yeah.
and a lot of us think we know better, but it's always a struggle. So it's hard to balance, business and being an artist.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, sometimes I want to be more of an artist than business owner.
Right.
There's times where I want to be more of a business owner than an artist. So,
So it's like the balance,
Happy
right?
medium.
And
Yeah.
having like a good team.
Yeah, having a good team, like
Which
having a good team will definitely give you the opportunity to be a better artist. Because if you're the one that has to run the business, you have to open up the shop, you have to check in clients, you have to collect payment, you have to pay everybody, you
Right.
have to do appointment confirmations, email people, do the sales, you have to do client relations, you have to do all aspects of the business. You don't have much time to focus on clients, you know. So building a team, even if it's small, but just building a team to assist you with things,
So you have so much going on now. So are you very selective now on like doing tattoos? Do you
I am.
take on a certain amount of people now? Like kind of like pick and
Yeah.
choosy kind of guy now?
Yeah, I am more choosy.
I mean,
No,
that
I
it's
get
a
what you're saying.
blessing. It's
No,
a
I
blessing.
I
You
get
know
what
what
you're
I'm saying?
saying, for sure, definitely. Even though right now our industry is going through a slow season, like there's a bubble within our industry, but then there's just a bubble within the economy, just in
Yeah.
general. But still, I am having to be, I get to pick and choose my projects. If somebody loves my work, but then they're asking for some kind of anime piece of work or some lettering or something a little bit on the smaller scale,
Cover up.
You could like move it on to
I
another theater.
definitely moving on.
Yeah.
Like I work with some amazing artists that I would love to help them out, and
Mhm.
pass on the work, but
But if
then,
they're like, no, I only want it from you.
yeah, then it may not happen.
Yeah.
It may not happen. I've been able to push myself down a certain direction, and I want to stay moving down that direction. And there will be times where like there's something special, like a friend from the past, or a family member, or if there's something super meaningful, I may take it on, but there has to be something about it, you know, something involved with their story that would make me take it on. But if that's not there, and if it's just something that they want that just looks cool, then for sure I'm gonna pass it on to somebody else. But right now in the industry, it's not there's not a crazy amount of work going around. So
but I'll still pass it on to somebody else within the studio that is more than capable
Do you
of doing
think
it.
that there's not a lot of work going around because of the economy? Like everyone seems to have raised their prices like in every, it's not just tattooing, it's everything. And yeah, eggs are $12. So
No, absolutely. And I feel like a lot of times when people are drowning, they pull down people with them, and a lot of businesses are doing that currently, so they're raising prices and making it.
I'm like, well, he did it. I'm gonna do it too.
Yeah. So, um, that's always a touchy subject,
Yeah.
when I got into the industry, I started tattooing in '07. The '08 recession was happening. I made it out of that '08 recession, but I did it because my entry level price point was not what everyone else was at, so I was working.
You're
uh,
competitive.
I was competitive for sure. Right now, a lot of people are being competitive with that too, but I feel like a lot of people in our industry are going about it in the wrong way. They're creating more brand suicide than actually competing, you know.
Right.
They're the perception that comes off is coming off very needy, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I feel like there's a lot of that happening and there's a lot of noise being put out there. And right now, that noise is what's making it difficult for everyone in our industry, on top of the economy, for sure,
Yeah.
because there's less people with free income,
Yeah.
to spend. So doesn't change the fact that people still want to get tattooed. It's just now they're having trouble finding the right artist because everyone's like, look at me, my prices are cheap, come get tattooed, come get tattooed. I'm available. So, but it comes off being very unattractive, in my opinion. So,
I'm
uh,
not begging.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
begging for attention type thing.
And like, anybody like in the dating world is gonna know that, people don't want people that are desperate.
Thirsty.
Right? So, I feel like, yeah, we are going through a tough time, but there's also a better way to approach it, than coming off as thirsty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you give a young artist something knowledge that you wish you would have known back when you're going up?
Some knowledge, educate yourself, study, learn, learn new things, read books. Don't be a starving artist, yeah, you want to be able to create some amazing pieces, and yeah, you should study your art and do as much of it as possible, but at the same time to understand that we are also our own brand, and we also need to look forward to the future, and we need to also learn a little bit about business, marketing yourself, getting yourself out there, because where a lot of artists struggle is creating awareness for what they can create, like you can be the baddest artist in the world, but if you're not out there and no one knows that you
You're just
exist,
doing it for yourself at
yeah,
this
you're
point.
doing it for yourself,
Yeah.
So, but I mean, a lot of people are cool with that, they're cool with creating art just for themselves, but if you want to have a successful career, you also got to get yourself out there.
Yeah.
Is there something you would change if you could go back to 2007 with the knowledge you have today? What would you tell yourself?
Like, I've always been really good at documenting myself when it comes to my work and stuff, but where I lacked was documenting myself when it came to business.
Okay.
So, um, I wish I would have put processes together a little bit better earlier on when I was moving into my own, like, being my own, like, shop owner, basically. So
Can you give me an example of like one process?
just simple things,
Just one. You don't have to go through.
like how you treat a client.
So right off the yeah.
Yeah, just how you treat a client, how you, do appointment confirmations and
Right.
and greet them when they come in, and just creating a standard process for stuff like that, because if I'm documenting my tattoos as I'm doing them, I'm filming time lapses,
Right.
um, keeping my stencils, I have a file with all that, I have everything. I document everything when it comes to tattooing, but I just wish I would have did the exact same thing when it came to being an entrepreneur, I guess you would
Right.
say. you know.
Okay.
So, sometimes lessons you learn later on,
Right.
and
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I have gotten a lot better with that,
Yeah.
but that's cool.
We're in the beginning here, so we're definitely there's things that we're like learning as we go too. So
Yeah.
the only thing is obviously we learn as we go, but ours is like what is it, Murphy's Law? Anything that can happen will happen.
Yeah.
What go wrong?
Whatever, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. That's what we call it over here at Mark on the back end.
I mean, that's good though. Like,
But we're learning.
you
You
learn.
know what I mean? We do
Yeah.
learn, and then
The
like
faster things go wrong, the
yeah,
quicker you learn.
exactly, dude. When you're tattooing, right? So I know you're always like you put out your needles, you do your inks. Is there like your bread and butter? Like is there like certain pins that you pull out every single time that you could like that people that want to from an artist perspective, right? Black and gray realism piece. What's your go-to needles, your throw for people that don't know? And
Yeah.
like color tones.
So a lot of times, like when I'm putting out a setup, it doesn't matter whether I'm doing something tiny or something like a back piece or something. I tend to pull out the same everything for like same setup for everything.
Okay.
So it's always a tight 3, a 5 round shader, an 11 round shader. Um, I over like the last like 2 years, I incorporated a 5 mag, a 7 mag, a 9 mag, 15 mag, and a 27 mag.
It's a big boy.
Yeah, so, it's definitely a big boy, but regardless if I use the needle or not, I always pull it out because I'd rather have it on my station to where I can grab it and use it, even if it's only for a couple seconds,
Okay.
because it could make the difference for that one little area.
Are there like out of those pins,
Mm.
ones that you like always use? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
out of your setup, like
So, like, out of all those needles, a lot of times I'm
so for
using
my
a
hand,
mag.
for easy reference, because obviously I know we'll pop that up there. Like for my hand,
Mhm.
what was like your go-to needles for that? Because that's a black and gray reel.
For that, it was a lot of 7 mag and it was a lot of 5 round shader. So if I'm working on the fingers, like I want those small needles to be able to saturate because from my experience, which is not the same experience for everybody else, but from my experience, whenever I personally use larger mags on like areas that are known to fall out, they fall out.
Right.
So for me to ensure that that wasn't going to happen, I use the smaller needles. So if I'm not doing something like fingers and I'm working on like say just an arm or forearm, I may use a 7 mag for a lot of the smaller details,
Okay.
15 mag for some bigger open areas, and then like my 27 for just to soften things out,
Mhm.
like especially when it's like portraits or faces or cheeks or something super soft or sometimes even background.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have a very specific needle that I stick to most of the session, I would say.
I think that would probably answer a lot of people's questions out there. The only thing that I could think of from like maybe an artist would be like, do you have a certain your needle speed, your
Yeah.
throw, and then colors?
So yeah, like
else can
as far as my needle throw, like I like to see the needle. If I'm working on something that's detailed, I'll stick the needle out fairly far so I can see what I'm working on.
Mhm.
And when it comes to doing like like the shades in a face, actually sink it in to where I could actually touch the tube of the needle on the skin. And I know the needle's not protruding so far out that I can get a soft shade and it stays consistent. So
Okay.
as far as like my throw, I do adjust it.
So it's very personalized.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
like
So
a certain
yeah,
throw that people aren't
One
they're
size
looking
fits
for the
all.
silver bullet. There is no
yeah,
silver
there's no
bullet.
silver bullet. It's like a lot of it's feel,
Right.
like you're working in hair and there needs to be a lot of saturation and there's a lot of these random shapes. You need to see what it is that you're doing.
Mhm.
So a lot of times when the tube's touching the skin, ink is puddling around the tube and you can't actually see what the needle is doing at that time.
Right.
So sometimes that's good for like doing soft shades in the cheek because it doesn't matter where that needle is at that particular moment.
Right.
Now you're doing some really fine detail like in the hair or the eye or the nostril or something like that. You need to see where that needle is at all times. So stick it out a little bit further to where you can actually see what you're doing, because there's not much softness in the hair, there's a lot of hard edges and a lot of like sharp points and stuff. So, so you kind of have to pick and choose what the best approach is for the area. So,
So it's very like
yeah.
specific as far as like
Mhm.
throw and speed and all that.
And then as far as like my inks, I use 5 tones other than black and white. I have one tone that's dead center in the middle. Then I have 2 light tones and 2 dark tones. So I feel like I can create any kind of range of value in between those tones that I set out and stuff. So and then
Definitely shows. I know you like the opaques too.
yeah,
Which
and then
is
the
like a
opaques
white,
too,
yeah.
like there's a lot of times where I'll play with the opaques and I'll do the exact same thing with the setup, I have one dead center in the middle and I have 2 darks and 2 lights. And
Fun-
and when it comes to picking and choosing what I use for the opaques versus black and gray, like usually if there's some kind of metallic in the piece,
Okay.
like like a car, I'll do the bumpers in opaque, and the body in black and gray.
Mhm.
Or if it's
Like a soldier.
like a soldier and he has armor,
Sword, yeah.
something metallic that's meant to reflect light, I'll use opaques.
Yeah.
Or
That's cool.
yeah, or sometimes, you know, I'll do a hybrid and I'll mix my gray wash with my opaque. Like if I have a medium tone gray wash, I'll dip in the gray wash and then I'll dip in the medium tone opaque. And then I'll get something dead center in between, it'll go in like a wash, but it'll have like a little bit more of a silvery tone. And I've done plenty of portraits that way too.
That's really
you know?
cool. Yeah, I'm
So,
sure. Hopefully that answered a lot of people's questions.
yeah.
Like from an artist point. They're like,
Uh,
how does he do that?
Yeah,
Like
there's a lot of people, a lot of artists with
fucking
like
opaques. I knew it, man.
So
yeah.
there's these doves that I like to do, and I like to do the doves in opaque.
I think we have a photo of that
Yeah.
we will use on the arm, the shoulder. Yeah, we do
Yeah,
have.
quite a few doves that I've done over the years. And yeah, I love doing the doves in opaque, and I love doing the background in black and gray because it definitely gives this different feel. It pulls the dove forward, sets the background further in the back, and it's
Mhm.
people are always amazed by it when, especially after it's healed and people see it out in public, it's like people trip out because they don't know how it was done,
Yeah,
They're like
it glows.
yeah, it
For sure.
glows. And
I know I get that a lot.
Well, he has a secret sauce, so there you go.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. So outside of tattooing, what's like your hobbies? What do you do? What keeps you grounded? And like also what's like a mind reset on like sometimes when your mind just gets so clouded, as an artist, which consumes you with all these things. How do you get you reset and like back to
yeah, see, that's tough,
ground level?
because like I feel like I'm in like a tunnel when it comes to tattooing and business, because it's like I don't really give myself too much of a break from it, Like if I'm into something outside of tattooing, it's probably gonna be coffee, That's the only other thing that I spend my time on, whether I'm searching out like a coffee shop or trying to buy beans and make my own coffee because I have like a Linea Mini, and so I have some equipment that the coffee shop would have,
Yeah.
in the house. So I'm always searching for a better way to make coffee. So like that's another hobby that I have, but I try not to stray too far from that because like I like to I like to keep the noise down as much as possible. So I know that's not really the best answer for a lot of people because everybody wants to look for balance of what do you do outside of tattooing to take your mind off of tattooing, but I don't really do that as much, like I have like this frequency to noise ratio and I'm trying to cut out as much noise so that I can focus all my attention on tattooing and the business and stuff like that, because like especially right now during this economy, like you're forced to have, you're kind of forced into the corner, your back's against the wall, business is slowing down, less people have money to spend on tattoos. So now you have to perfect things, and instead of ignoring that there's a situation in the industry, I'm constantly on the hunt, on the search to better myself when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
being able to provide for the artists that work at the studio, on
Right.
top of, being able to cover bills and pay expenses and stuff,
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, so currently I am trying to cut out as much noise as possible. So, maybe it is, maybe I do need a vacation and to take my mind off of everything. But as of right now, I don't feel like I have that luxury.
I feel like that's interesting though, because most people to cut out noise, they do something different, right? So like Gabe does DJing as well. So maybe to cut out noise, he'll like throw on a movie. But what you're basically saying is to cut out the noises, you're basically deep diving into coffee, which is also like super. I know you're getting real into it, which
Yeah.
I'll let you say as much as you want to say about that. Obviously, I know more. But like instead of like distracting yourself, you're almost like deep diving. And it kind of goes back to like when you said you were a kid and you were in the back, you were drawing. Like this is what you know, and this is how you like maybe tattooing isn't really noise for you. Maybe that is your safe place.
Yeah.
So maybe like in a sense, like coffee is actually for you noise. You know what I'm saying? Maybe like
Yeah,
the
it could
tattoo
be.
and the artistry behind it, like you know what I'm saying, drawing, conceptualizing, like composition of stuff, like big projects or like stuff with Seven, that which I know has a lot of stuff going on. Maybe for you that isn't the noise.
So for me, coffee, for some people, they would consider that the noise, but the way my head works, I feel like my deep dive into coffee is meant to complement the business side of
Right.
of us,
Right. Yeah.
and
I
our
hear what you're
studio,
saying.
because
For sure.
like perspective,
It's there's artistry behind that too,
Yeah,
for sure. So
definitely
it's
there's
just a different form. Yeah.
yeah, people are definitely passionate about it. There's people that they live by a
Yeah.
cup of coffee.
That's why I don't go to Starbucks. All you Starbucks people, you guys are too much. I can't. I'm not hip enough.
Yeah. But in my situation, I still feel like it's connected to tattooing.
Just because of the reason why I'm going down that route.
Right.
It's a rabbit hole for me, yes, but at the same time too, I know that can if I bring coffee into our studio, because that's ultimately what I would love to do is have a coffee shop in our studio.
Oh wow. Okay.
So we're not there yet. I have the equipment for it, but we're not there yet. But I mean, when it came to some of the questions you asked earlier about, the experience and what makes us different, this is a way that we're searching,
Another way.
another way to
Possible.
separate ourselves from everybody else,
Which is perfect too.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it is something that I would love to have while I'm just getting blasted.
You like coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are
coffee.
you getting tattooed? I
Who
need
loves
some
coffee,
because
dude?
you're
Like,
you're so strained, right? All day long, whether you're tensing, whether you're looking at the ceiling, whether you're looking at a wall. At Seven, they have a TV there for you. Shout out Seven. They do have TVs for you, so it's not like you're just staring at a black wall or like the same piece of art for fucking 5 hours. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So it is another way. Like, coffee is for sure. You need like a up, and a
No.
Red Bull isn't always
Yeah.
going to do that.
Now picture this too,
like you would love to get tattooed by this artist that you've been following for years, but you're intimidated, and you don't know what they charge or how busy they are or anything about them other than you really love their work. Now, you happen to live in the same city, so, like you just found out that that studio just opened up a coffee shop. So it's like, hey, you know what? I don't want to look like a fool going in there asking for something that I may or may not be able to afford, but I can afford a cup of coffee. So you walk in there, you get that
grudge.
exactly. You go get a coffee, and while you're there, you're just poking around, you're chilling, drinking your coffee and stuff, and you just start asking questions because the staff is friendly.
Yeah.
You ask questions and then you find out whether you can afford it or not, for one. Or another angle is like, say you've been getting tattooed at the studio, and now all of a sudden they open up a coffee shop and you love coffee. So now you start becoming a daily customer coming in for coffee, and
Gives you an excuse to say what's up if you already have
yeah.
right? It's like, we're gonna finish my project and I won't have any more projects for you, but I want to come say what's up.
Yeah,
Coffee shop,
it's a good way
perfect
to keep the
excuse,
relationship,
you know?
So
It's kind of weird if I'm just like gonna go on a Wednesday right around 3, you know? So I could see that. Like it
yeah.
definitely is. And then for the client that doesn't follow Mark, because we tell you how to reach out to these guys, like that's a perfect bridge, right? Like you just go in there and that's smart, you know, like you just go get a coffee and while you're there, be like, oh, I really like Daniel. Oh, Daniel's here. He's actually on a break, you know? Or maybe it's just they give you information.
Don't bother him when this works.
You know, I mean, it just depends. I'm just saying, it's obviously how he wants to like fit it, but it definitely is like kind of like a bridge, right? Because like we're trying to reach artists, get artists on the channel, right? So it's a lot easier if I could just go in the shop, but like it's kind of odd if I just pop into a shop and I can understand it from a client perspective too, right? Like at some point you're going to try to reach out to these higher end artists or these like very famous artists and you don't know what to say. You don't know how to reach them, even though most of them are pretty clear cut. Email me at this or text me at this. You still don't know it's yo, bro, let me get some work. You know, like that's not gonna work. You know,
You see his face that he said that?
I know they get it. I know they did it. Yo, let me get that piece, dog. Like $100. Like
Or
you know?
sometimes like today I received 2 DMs back to back, 2 different people, screenshot of a tattoo. One of them just put money symbols. The other person was like, "How much?"
Right.
You know,
Yeah. So what I'm
so-
saying, like,
We had another artist house.
you gotta
and
baby
I'm just like,
them.
what the fuck? Like,
You gotta
don't really do
baby
this
people,
shit?
you know? And from our job too, which like it's the same thing. You gotta like almost be like some people just don't know how to like format it. You know, in their head it sounded better. And then like when their fingers hit the keyboard, like you know, they just jam up and they're like, give it to me. Like, give me, you know?
It happens. It happens, So
What's your biggest ick in the industry?
biggest ick.
Like right now with tattoos, like okay, so Gabe's was Flash. He doesn't
What do you
like
call it though? He calls it
what
flash. I call it like stamps. Like,
yeah, it's called
know what I mean?
flash tattoos, tattoos that
yeah.
vibrate. But he doesn't like it when you do like I'll kind of clarify because it's not just flash, it's when people do like random flash all over their body. Mine is like the black light tattoos.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, or like the glasses ones.
Yeah.
Is there something like genre that you're just like, what is that? You know?
Typically for me, I would say more trendy type of things, because like I see what you're saying with well, not necessarily that, but like I see what you're saying with the black light, and I see what you're saying with like having these stamps all over the place. I feel both of those. Like I feel uncomfortable about black light tattoos.
Yeah, it's just
Different chemicals under the skin, and you don't know what's gonna happen with that. You don't know if it's safe. You don't know who makes this shit.
right.
And then also too the stamps. Like somebody going in and getting Friday the 13th tattoos. And there's nothing wrong with those Friday the 13th tattoos. But when someone turns that into a sleeve and then they're all over the place, no composition, like I said, the first thing I don't is composition. So
Right.
when I see stuff like that, I feel like that's a pet peeve of mine is like, it wasn't thought out. It was so random. It looks random and it's trendy stuff.
well, it's just like a lot of people get these stamp tattoos and then they want to, oh, now I want to make it a full sleeve. And it's like, well, what the fuck are you going to do, dude? Like, you
Yeah.
kind of screwed yourself.
Yeah, if you're gonna do something like that, and you want to collect things and it's for you, hide it. But
Don't show her.
keep it to yourself. But no, yeah, like I don't mind small tattoos or flash tattoos, but make it look good. If it's a small tattoo and it's something from a flash sheet, and if it fits behind your ear, that's great. It's cool because it actually fits the area. Placement. You can throw a bunch of other crap around it, but if you're gonna start on your arm, where everyone sees, maybe that might not be.
Like Blueface. Blueface has the Chase Bank symbol right here. You just perfect. You can't put anything else. Shout out. That's a good spot, you know? He just put the Chase Bank symbol right above the I think he has it above his eyebrow. That's a
What do
perfect
you
spot for a stamp tattoo, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
do you think that there's a certain place if I was completely no tattoos?
Mhm.
There's this place that you should start, and there's a place you should not start. Like, there's a thing in my head how I think a lot of people are their first tattoos are getting out on their hands. I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, when I first started tattooing, that was the thing, like they're like, don't be like this newer generation, getting your neck, your hands tattooed before annoying us. The old school way was,
You earn the neck and the
yeah,
hands.
the old school way, you do everything that's under your clothes first before you start exposing tattoos. So, um, I feel like I'm somewhere in between, like I think it's okay to have a sleeve, even if you don't have a front or a back piece, but don't start with the neck or your hands if you don't even have anything on your arm or anywhere else.
yeah,
Like you can tell when somebody has their hands and their neck tattooed first that they're doing it because they care what other people think.
impulse.
Yeah, it's impulse, but
Social
I,
media.
I think in the back of their head they really care how people see them,
Yeah,
you know.
because if you going off of that, for sure, I agree. Because remember back in the day from our genre and then his genre, like when you had your neck and your hands done, it was because you ran out of space. It wasn't like a look, right? It was like
Yeah.
you have no more space, so you tattooed your hands and your neck, and then it kind of fed into like you earned that spot. So
Yeah.
I'm very much kind of like that as well, but I'm kind of back and forth with it because if it's done right and it's like you can still respect the art, I guess. But like, yeah, I still kind of go back and forth with that too.
Yeah.
Like you do, I feel like you still should, like, that's a hot spot and it's a hard spot. And like, in a sense, you should kind of earn those spots.
Yeah.
But, if you like put in the time and you respect the art and stuff like that, like, I feel like to a certain degree. But yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
agree.
Look at the thing.
Out your neck and your
It's like
hands.
if you started with your neck, right, and you wanted her, and you want to do your chest and your shoulders and everything. Now you got to make the neck flow into everything else. This is the main portion. Like this is so small. You start here. This is so small. Now you got to make it look good on your whole arm.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. So it's like you made this small tattoo, and you're gonna have to make it fall into such a. If you get in a sleeve, you like such a larger piece. So it's like you got to. I feel like you got to start with where there's more space.
Yeah, and that's all of that is considering the fact that you don't work for anybody and you have a job where you're capable of tattoo of having that. Yeah, so like hand tattoos, we consider those job stoppers and stuff, because like if you were young and you didn't have a great job and you're working maybe your second job that you've ever had, you're not thinking too far in the future. You're only thinking about like the present. So like I feel like a lot of people are a little too impulsive when it comes to certain things like that, and they don't realize how much they're jeopardizing their future.
That's actually the reason why I don't have mine done.
Yeah. But at the same time too,
Would you say
we are
social media? It's big with social media too, because people want to
I
like.
mean that's when I first started tattooing, but I feel like times are starting to change and tattoos are becoming more acceptable. So it's easier to get a job if you have your hands and your neck tattooed now than
Yeah,
when I
for
first
sure.
started tattooing.
Definitely.
So times are
We
changing.
talking about that. Tattoos are becoming more. I think for sure people are coming to the baseline and seeing that tattoos are 100% like a form of artistry. Like I get the like people that you would never think will sometimes stop me, and I'm sure it happens to you guys too. And they'll be like, "Oh my God, that's so cool." And it's like this 87-year-old grandma that like in a million years would have never thought. I would think that she's thinking like I'm a criminal. And like she's over here like seeing my hand or seeing my arm or whatever it is. And it's like, wow, that's so cool. I think that like society's starting to learn that like this is a form of artistry and there is beauty in it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
It's
also
not just
too,
like gangbanger
yeah,
stuff.
and,
Like
and as time goes on, we start getting artists within the industry that are not trying to put the neighborhood tattoos on you,
Right.
and they're not trying to make everything look like it's from like the streets and stuff,
Right.
and you're actually getting some real art, whether it's like stuff like I do, some more religious concepts, or like with what you have on your leg, like you have pop culture on your leg, and you say you're out and about, and like you said, some 80-year-old lady might see something, and,
Right.
oh my God, I love Ghostbusters.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
that was like, you should see my fucking collection.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. You don't know, Yeah, I
Uh,
love cats. 90.
yeah, so I feel like the artists are also evolving too as time goes on. So it's not just the
Yeah,
low
for sure.
life kind of concepts going
Yeah.
on there. It's actual stuff people can relate to.
Cool. Honestly, at this point, dude, again, I'd love to thank you from Gabe and I from bottom of my hearts. Like, obviously, you're a homie. I appreciate you coming here. At this point, we're just gonna kind of leave it to you. We wanted to thank like Seven and you, but if you had anything you want to share, whether that's like the route you're going, maybe like a public announcement, future projects, something with
More
Seven, we
experiences.
just want to kind of give the channel to you and kind of say whatever you want.
Okay. Yeah, let me think about that for a second, because I'm just excited to be here, to be honest with you. I mean, I love the conversation.
No,
I'm glad you had a good time.
me and Dario started this, and I was like, this whole room took 7 months, like just
Yeah,
piece by piece.
he
We did it
knows
very methodically.
because I was seeing him
And I'm
within the
like,
7 months.
We've invested this in a lot of money in this, and I was like, what if all these artists say no? I was like we really didn't know. Like, what if Daniel says no? What if so and so says no? Like,
Yeah.
we don't know. So it's really cool hearing like that. Like, you're just glad to be here because like we can't tell the future. We don't know what people are gonna see.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And um yeah, these conversations that we just had, are things that, I take for granted. I don't think that people are actually interested in this type of information, that
I hope
we
they
talk
are.
about, We'll see. Well, no, it's like, see, you're asking me stuff, and I felt like it's good, because I don't think I've ever been asked some of those questions. So
I don't think I have
that-
either because we've spent a lot of time getting tattooed, and some of them are general questions that even though we have spent probably close to 100 hours together between all of our little projects, and like I don't think I've asked these questions. It's just not something like while you're in a tattoo setting. And I also like go back and forth between like hating you and loving you as you tattoo me. So like it's not really like I'm like, hey dude, like how'd you get into tattooing? I'm more like, yo, are you fucking done blasting my pinky? Like I've had enough,
yeah, no, for sure, for sure. But yeah, no, but yeah, I guess the only thing that I would love to say, is that we do plan on bringing coffee into the studio, and
Hell yeah.
that has been in the works for quite some time. Um, it's not quite there yet, but that's something that you guys can look forward to in the future and stuff. So
Hell yeah.
Is it like gonna that's inside the original 7 tattoos? You like extend it?
no, we want to bring it into the studio. So we would like to convert some of our space. We have about 6,000 square feet in the studio. So I'm sure we can take several hundred square feet,
Yeah.
and turn it into a coffee shop. So
I'll be the first to ever do something like that.
I'm not sure if I'm the first to ever do something like that,
I
but
definitely know you guys are like are always kind of like seem to be ahead of the pack here, which is
Trendsetters.
was earned.
Yeah.
Like I, again, I'm biased because I've seen you since Decatur, and I've seen like how the shop and you as an artist have molded just through like the looking glass. But like, there's a lot of like stuff he's not saying. But like, this is not. He didn't just wake up, guys, and like do this. There's a lot of work that went into all this stuff.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thousands of hours worth of work that like got him here and like these ideas here. So like that's really cool. But I know like we've talked about that. I didn't know if you want to talk about it here. I'm glad that you did. Like
No, absolutely.
but I think that that's really cool. That definitely like it makes that transition from like clients like that you have easy way to go by, cruise by Seven, and then also like for newer clients, and then just in general because coffee's dope. Obviously there's a market for it.
Dude, and I'm so excited right now because like over like the last few weeks, we feel like we perfected our coffee
Oh, fuck yeah.
at the house. So,
Husky Brewing, baby. Home brew.
Yeah.
Roach's cup.
oh yeah,
Rocha special. 7 shots of espresso. All right, dude. I mean, that's really it, dude. That's it. If you have anything, do you have anything you have?
That was great.
All right, man.
Amazing.
Well, thank you for your time, bro.
Yeah,
For sure.
thank
That's
you.
really it, dog.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Awesome.